it doesn't promote a lot of employment, but at least there will be some employment created by formation of businesses, right? And employment creation is vital as Botswana dominated by the public sector. You know, Botswana employment statistics, they indicate that 51.5 is actually dominated by the public sector, of which we are now saying, what is the contribution of the private sector, and what do we do as universities, and what do our students do, say, after completing their studies? And this research was done purely in the accounting faculty. And within our faculty of accounting, we are offering AAT, ACA, CIMA, and BICA, right? So this is where the research was done. And as said earlier on, we wanted to find out their perceptions regarding formation of businesses, with the premise that business formations will promote employment. And the whole idea is that there is a belief that to create employment is complementary to our call for global employability. We advocate that let's groom students, let's groom our graduates so that they are marketable internationally. But also at the same time, we are saying, let's also try to groom them so that they have more drive of creating employment by forming their own business. So it's actually complementary. We are not running away from the fact that we also have some graduates who prefer to be employed. But at the same time, we're also saying, why don't we come up with some nurturing programs that will promote our students also to have an affinity of creating or forming their own businesses. Right, the research questions that were answered by this research, the main question was, what are the employment creation perceptions among Botswana University accounting students? And the sub-questions that were answered, the first one, how many students would wish to start businesses? What forms of business would the students wish to start? How soon after completing studies would they wish to start businesses? What are the business lines preferred by students? And what are the challenges envisaged by that are envisaged by students that they hinder their formation of businesses? Right. This research was based on some literature, and I'm only going to highlight an overview. I'm not going into the details about the literature. So about youth and college graduates unemployment, we had Musereletsi, Chawawa, African Economic Outlook, Lindbergh, all of these, they contributed that the main reason why Botswana graduates are not getting employment, there are a number of factors. One, it is a mismatch between our curricula and the demand in the market. And the second one is that in most cases, you know, for example, in Zimbabwe, you know that, I mean, in Botswana, it is mainly dominated by mining, by diamonds, right? And as such, there's a call for diversification. So it is said basically because of focusing mainly on the diamonds and at the same time, the dominance of the public sector. That is the one contributing factor, because we don't seem to be having a high drive for the manufacturing or production sector in terms of creating employment. So in line with those ones, I also had a focus on the employment creation possible strategies. And there were contributions like Lindbergh, Denka, and others, Song and others, Temetine and Welch. They came up with these strategies that can actually be used, especially for college graduates, university graduates. How can they be mobilized, or how can we mobilize so that they can create employment? And among our literature, there's a talk of incubation. There's a talk of incubation, and at the end, at the findings and conclusion, you'll find that we have countries like the United States, we have Israel, that are very successful in terms of incubation. Right? So incubation is one of the strategies which was dominated by these academics. And also we have collaborations and networks. Collaborations, I think we've been talking about collaborations and we'll continue talking about them, but in most cases they are usually done after graduating, after our students complete the university. So there is a core that possibly, if students can start collaborating while they are still at university, and they are nurtured by the universities or institutions as a strategy of mobilizing and nurturing them so that they can form their own businesses. Okay, this research was done through mixed approach, meaning that I used both qualitative and quantitative approaches. It was more of exploratory, and the data was collected through questionnaire and focus group discussions. And I will show you the distribution of the sample. The population is actually 936 students, accounting students, and I took a sample of 200. And the data analysis, it was basically content analysis, and I used some bit of Excel. Right, the main findings that came up out of this sample is that 26% of the students that were involved in this research, they desired to start businesses, right? And the 26% constitute about 52% out of 200 students. They said they desired to start businesses. And of interest, 18% of these 26%, they want to start by looking for employment first and start businesses later. They said they don't want to start soon after completing. And there's 80% of these respondents who said they want to start business soon after completing. And of these 8%, in total students, there were actually 16 who said they wanted to start business soon after. Interestingly, 15 were males and 1 was female. Out of the 16 students who wanted to start business soon after completing their studies. And 74% of the students do not have desire to start business. Out of the 200 sample, as I said, 74% of the students, they said they are not interested, they don't have interest at all to start businesses. And then 11% of the respondents said they wanted to start companies, while 4% said they wanted to start partnerships. And the sole proprietors, there was no one who said who prefers to start a sole proprietorship. And about 44% of those who want to start business, they were not very sure whether they will start companies or whether they want to start a partnership or whatever. Right, and interestingly, on the business lines, I thought since they were accounting students, they were going to say that they were going to be interested in starting accounting businesses. But interestingly, 30%, 58% of them, about 30 students, say they wanted to get into farming. They said they wanted to get into farming, although they would be accountants, right? And in accounting, I only had 9 students, constituting 17%, who said they wanted to start business in accounting. And interestingly, again, those students were only those that are doing ACA. All of the 9 students were from ACA group. There was none from BICA, none from AAT, none from BICA. From SIMA, you see. So the 9 students were from ACA. And then, of interest, some say they wanted to get into catering, IT, decorations and the like, about 16%. And others came up with quite a number, some diversified fields, which are so quite assorted. And that was 10%. So this indicates something as regards our wish of students wanting to start businesses. Actually, they see opportunities in other fields, which we are not training them. And it is, to me, it was quite interesting to come up with this. Right, and of those who wanted to start business, 18% said they want to start business at a period of either 5 years or more than 5 years, right? That is when they want to start business. And especially from the focus group discussion, they were saying they needed to mobilize capital first, And then after mobilizing, because they don't have any source, any guaranteed source of capital, so they want to accumulate capital so that they can start business. And then those who wanted to start between 2 and 5 years was 5%, and less than 2 years it was 3%, and others was 73%. This research actually came up with some challenges which were brought by our students, which they said are the major hindrances or are the challenges that our graduates are actually encountering for them to start businesses. The first one was that soon after completing their studies, they will not be having experience. Hence, to them, they said they don't even have confidence. They don't have confidence, and it will be a bit difficult for them to start businesses. And they said capital, again, it is another major hindrance. And then they also said they don't have business plans which are ready-made, or some of them, they actually said that they don't know how to prepare the business plans. And then it was also said the scarcity of land for startup entrepreneurs. There's nowhere where actually our startups are actually allocated land, or they are mobilized, they are assisted to start their businesses. And then they also mentioned that we don't have entrepreneurial development modules in these professional qualifications, in ACA, CIMA, BICA, and AAT. We don't have any entrepreneurship development module, or if it is there, it will be just a minor component. So as such, they said it is a contributing factor. Now, what are the some of the conclusions and the recommendations out of this research? Firstly, and this is supported with the literature as well, there is need for strategic fit with the citizens. What are we saying? We are saying possibly if ever there are strategies that are to be brought to our graduates, to our students where they are learning, they're supposed to be relevant to the citizens. They're supposed to be relevant to the environment, to the community, so that our community becomes more motivated to actually engage in businesses. And again, collaborations, joint ventures, or skills transfer. Possibly, if there could be some collaborations between students, among universities, and between community and the university and students, or between the industry and the university in promoting and nurturing our students, possibly that could assist. And joint ventures will assist in skills transfer. For example, if you have many joint ventures between some countries, like this last week, we attended the Global Expo, and there were some countries like Poland, Czechoslovakia, those countries, they were actually advocating that if we could have some joint ventures between Botswana entrepreneurs and their entrepreneurs. So in most cases, if we don't have capital, if we don't have the technology, if we can partner with them so that at least they can train our graduates soon after, and then they graduate thereafter and forming their own businesses. And then incubation. Incubation, I think I also mentioned about it. And we have countries that have succeeded, like USA, Israel, Europe, Germany, Ukraine, South Africa. These countries have successful incubation programs. For example, in the United States, it is said there were about 19,000 businesses and 245,000 jobs that were created between 1998 to 2002. And this is from the 2006 State of Business Incubation Industry. That is the source. Meaning that there is actually progress, and at the same time there is promise. If incubation programs are actually promoted, we think and we foresee our graduates at least being promoted to start their own businesses. What is incubation? I think I felt I was talking about incubation. Incubation definition by Hackett is a shared office space facility that seeks to provide incubatees like our students, or it could be a client or a portfolio, meaning they could be jointly, a tenant or company with a strategic value-adding intervention system. And of interest, here in Botswana, we have some programs that have already been started of incubation. Like LIA, it is promoting some small enterprises through incubation. Ministry of Youth, it also has some incubation programs. And Innovation Hub in Botswana, it has also started some incubation programs. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned earlier on, that is the idea of this research. It was to establish how our students perceive how they wish to start businesses, with the hope that after forming businesses, then they are going to create employment for the graduates. Thank you so much. This is the research findings.